great things about kind of the time and place we live. I know that, it's kind of not fun to talk about the time and place we live, but there are some distinct advantages, and that is, it is so easy to find people that share your common interests, be that in a long forgotten television show, or an obscure artist, or your love of classic cars, or whatever the case may be. We're living in a time where it's so much easier for you to interact with people within these kind of subcultures that have popped up around us. The hard thing is that when we are engrossed in our subculture, when we are truly into it, it's the world to us. But to everyone else looking in, they just don't get what's the appeal. What is the, why is everybody going crazy for this? Here's, I can give you two great examples. As you should know by now, I am a Star Trek fan. And back in the 90s, going to a Star Trek convention was considered the height of nerddom. You might as well have just taken your Virgin card and, tucked it into your wallet, because you are never going to get laid. You're going to a Star Trek convention, and now every fucking thing has a convention. Also early 90s, 80s going into the early 90s, being a wrestling fan. You were a wrestling fan, you know what? The first thing people say when you tell them you're a wrestling fan, even now, is that it's fake, I don't know what they expect the reaction to be. Like I'm going to have a heart attack because they've dropped this knowledge bomb on me. But the subculture always is everything to the people that's in it, and always looked on with a little bit of curiosity from those on the outside. As a result of that, these various subcultures have become the subject of some of the most endearing films out there. And the subject of today's film deals with the concept of bird watching, and I don't think this film has become the cult classic that some of the other films we'll talk about in this review have, but I think it definitely deserves a second look, and that is 2011's The Big Year. Okay, so let's talk about this film, because this film kind of snuck up on me. This is another one that I saw first when I was home in Alaska for the summer. And it was just one of the ones that was on TV. I caught it a couple times, and each time I caught it, the first time I watched it, it was, okay, this is ridiculous. And then I watched it again and again and again, started to enjoy it more and more and more, and now it's become one of kind of my go-to relaxation movies. So let's talk a little bit about it, because I don't think a lot of people even knew it was out then. I don't even remember seeing a trailer for it at the time. So at any rate, what is the story? So you have three avid bird watchers, or birders as the term is called. Jack Black, who is a computer programmer whose life is kind of stalled out. He's divorced, he's working at a job he hates, and the only thing that really kind of gives his life any kind of joy is his love of birds and bird watching. You have Steve Martin, who is a CEO of a company that does something. They never really say what exactly his company does, but he's on the verge of retirement. And you have Owen Wilson, who is supposedly the best birder in the world, which we'll come back to that title here in a second. And all three of these gentlemen at the same time decide that they are going to go for what they call a big year. And in the birding world, a big year is a competition where you try to see how many birds you can see in North America in a single calendar year. And so these three guys go all over America. They go all over the place, all these different locations, trying to spot as many different species of birds as they can so that they can win, basically saying that they won. So right away, what I love about this movie is that it's got that esoteric kind of appeal. It is, again, it's a subculture that most people just kind of ignore. You know, in terms of structure, this film reminds me a lot of one of the Christopher Guest movies, you know, Waiting for Guffman, Mighty Wind, Best in Show. One of the Christopher Guest trilogy. I know that there is For Your Consideration, but that's not kind of in that same category as far as I'm concerned. In that it's dealing with a niche appeal. It's dealing with something that the people who are into it are really into it, and the rest of everybody else kind of is looking at it going, really? Community theater? And what I like about this movie is it treats the hobby, or, you know, the drive, the interest, whatever you want to call it, with that same kind of loving respect that the Christopher Guest movies do. It's a very thin line between laughing with the people who are involved in whatever interest or whatever subculture and laughing at them. You know, people, I know I'm going to have people argue this point with me, but, you know, take for instance, the Will Ferrell film Blades of Glory, which is making fun of male figure skaters. That is what it is doing. And as a former male figure skater, I find it very insulting that they are making fun of the work I did, the time I put in, you know, and it's all a big joke because men shouldn't be doing that. Compare that to the Christopher Guest movies where, you know, Waiting for Guffman, community theater, which I am involved in. And yes, you can laugh at it. You can laugh at the characters and find yourself and everyone you know in the theatrical community in that movie going, oh, I'm that one. Oh, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. But at the same time, it doesn't put these people up and put their interest up as stupid. It means something to them. It gives them a drive. It gives them something outside of their regular lives. It's something that is important to them. As stupid and bizarre and whatever as it may be to the outside observer, it means something to them. It's filling something in their lives. And that's what this film does very well with birding. I can't say I've enjoyed looking at birds. I used to have bird feeders out on my deck, and I used to love it when the birds came. But I'm not gonna say that I understand this all-consuming drive and need to run all over the place and do kind of, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, you know, and not even stop to look at the bird, but just kind of go, there it is, spotted it, and go on to the next. You know, you're not even enjoying it. But the point is, I don't need to understand it, because the characters, especially the ones played by Jack Black and Steve Martin, you understand that to them, this is filling a long overdue adventure for them. This is something that they need to do because it's just for them. It's something they can say that they did, and you understand that need from both of their perspectives of just needing to do this one thing and, you know, do it to the best of their ability. I gotta say also that what I really enjoy about this movie is just how beautifully shot it is. They go to some amazing locations. You know, again, they're supposed to be going all over North America to just, you know, see how many of these birds they can spot. So you're getting road trips, you're getting beautiful scenery. It's kind of that movie that makes, especially these days where you feel very confined, because we're trying to stay in one place and trying not to go out there. But it's one of those films that you're just kind of, oh man, that wanderlust, just to get out there and just go and have a goal and whatnot and just complete it. It's a very relaxing film, and a lot of places they go to are just really beautifully shot. I will say, here's the thing I didn't like. So in one section, of course, they go to Attu, Alaska, which is a small island off the Aleutian chain. But to take off from that, they have to take off from Merrill Field. Now, I don't know where they filmed this. They may have filmed it at one of the further out parts of Merrill Field, but I seriously doubt it, because that does not look like the Merrill Field I know. If they did, then I sincerely apologize for saying this. So I don't know where on Merrill Field they filmed it, but it sure as shit didn't look like it to me. But anyway, you get shots in Alaska and Montana and British Columbia, Arizona. There's all these really beautiful places, and it does kind of make you feel like, maybe I should go look at the birds. It seems like a great thing to do. I gotta say, in his youth, and when he was first coming up as a movie star, I was never a big Jack Black fan. He fit in with those guys. I'm not big on. His films were very loud and very obnoxious, and I was not down with it. But I have to say, as I've grown older and I've seen more and more of his stuff, I actually like him a lot more, and I think he's got a lot more talent than I gave him the initial credit for, so I'm willing to concede on that one. I've mentioned it in the Jumanji reviews that he's the star of those movies. He really is. He is the breakout star, showing off just how funny he is, and I think he carries the bulk of the weight on this one. He's not playing a completely straight character, like Jim Carrey was in The Majestic, but this is not a loud, obnoxious kind of person. This is a much more relatable character, and I think he pulls it off very, very well. Of course, Steve Martin is Steve Martin. He's the veteran. I don't think Steve Martin's ever been bad in anything. He's been in bad movies, but I don't think he himself has ever been bad. He's that perfect anchor that you need. So does this film have a problem? Is this movie perfect? And the answer is no, and I'm afraid, and I don't want to sound like too much of a dick here, but I think I'm going to. I think the problem comes down on Owen Wilson, and more specifically the Owen Wilson character. First of all, and again, I'm trying not to be a dick here, but I got to be honest. I don't think Owen Wilson is that good. I don't think he's that good of an actor. I don't think he's that funny of a comedian. Now, the character he's playing is right up his wheelhouse, and it's this smarmy, cocky, unlikable jackass. And of course, I know that in the early 2000s, he and Ben Stiller were every college guy's favorite moviegoer, but Owen Wilson was never that strong. And he plays the smarmy, cocky asshole fairly well. But the problem is twofold. One, the character that he's playing. Again, the character he's playing is supposed to be the reigning champ. The guy who has already broken the record once and is now heading out to try to do it again. Is that in terms of the script, they do not make his character even the slightest bit sympathetic or likable. You could forgive him being kind of a cheating, underhanding bastard if you understood more why it was so important he was doing it. And again, the things he does, he doesn't actually do anything terrible to anybody. He does things like fake them out, make them think he's going to see all these rare birds, and turns out he's not. Little things like that. They imply that he may have cheated to win the last time he did the big year, but it's proven that he's not. He takes the honor system very seriously. But I think what's missing is that, again, we don't really get a sense of why it is so important that he keep this record. Now, I understand the big fish in a small pond mentality. Believe me, I get it. You know, I always hear people I went to college with, "Oh, you were one of the best actors at that college." Yeah, it was a small college, you know, but I'm still proud that I was like one of the lead actors there. So I get that, and I get that concept of wanting to hold on to that spot. I get the whole four horsemen mentality of whatever you're gonna do it, but be the best at it. I get that. But when we're presented with this guy, he's already broken the record. He's already held up as one of the best. He's a hero amongst this little... He's both loved and despised. Everybody kind of hates him, but they kind of really respect him too. So he's got that, you know, mentality going for him. He's a success in his everyday life. He's married to a beautiful woman that actually loves him and wants to have a baby with him. So why then does he feel the need to go out and not only do the big year again, but win it, and win it with such, you know, kind of smarmy tactics? What does he have to prove, and what does he have to gain? And I think they either needed more in the script to flush that out a little bit, or, I'm sorry, they needed a better actor. I could see a better actor working with the script they had and giving us smaller signs of why this was so important. But as it stands, this guy is not sympathetic. You know, this is a guy that we, the audience, grow to hate because of what he does. You know, that he sacrifices literally everything to win this competition. This competition of looking at things. This isn't even like, you know, I built it, I raced it. This isn't a Rocky thing, you know, I trained and all. No, you're the best at looking at things. There's his main plot through this movie is that his wife, Rosamund Pike, wants to have a baby, so they have to have the fertility treatments. But it's hard because he is off globetrotting and not around to, you know, fulfill his end of the bargain, shall we say. So they have this scene where he's supposed to come in and do whatever treatment. She's there waiting for him, and at the last second he gets a call that some snowy owl is off, you know, somewhere, and he turns around and runs to go see the owl. Now, again, structurally, story-wise, I get what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, you know, how obsessed people can get with things, and, you know, when you let an obsession or an interest take over what's important. Because at the same time, they're juxtaposing that scene with a scene of Jack Black out in the woods with his dad, played by Brian Dennehy, who's just had a heart attack, and Jack Black kind of leaves his dad alone to go out looking for an owl, ironically, and kind of has a change of heart and goes, "What am I doing?" and remembers what's important and goes running back. So I get why they're juxtaposing that scene. But I don't know, just everything leading up to that, we've already hated this guy. We never had a doubt he was going to do the most asshole-ish thing. And also, I got to get off on this. And I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Oh, now, I'm not one to talk. I'm not exactly the most handsome person on the planet. And Owen Wilson is probably a very nice person in real life, so I'm not trying to make judgment calls on him as a person, but let's be fair. Owen Wilson is not what one would consider a Hollywood pretty boy. Okay? Owen Wilson is not Hugh Jackman. Let's just say that. And somehow the Owen Wilson of this universe has managed to get Rosamund Pike to marry him. Rosamund Pike, I will remind you, was a Bond girl. Yes, it was in one of the shittiest Bond movies, but the point still stands. A Bond girl has somehow fallen in love with Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson with that smushed face, and wants to have a baby with him, but instead of having a baby with Rosamund Pike, he'd rather run out and go look at birds. I'm sorry, we need to understand a little bit more as to how this happened. I've gone off longer on this than I have on any other section of, is this movie perfect? But it is something that kind of stands out. He does a good job playing the smarmy guy, but I guess the smarmy guy that you want to see get his comeuppance, and kind of does in private, but I don't know. I feel like I've complained more about this movie than I've really talked about it, because I really love this movie. It's relaxing, it's charming. It's one of those movies that I actually have a hard time putting in a genre. What genre would you classify this film as? It's listed as a comedy, but I wouldn't say there's really anything that funny in it. There's, a couple jokes. You got 3 comedians in it. There are jokes, but none of them are really laugh out loud funny. They're more just kind of situational humor. It's not a drama. So the best way I would classify this film is it's an adventure film. Not an action adventure, but it's a real life adventure. Everybody kind of has that thing, that goal they want to accomplish, that thing they want to do. I've heard ones like, people want to see a ball game in every ballpark in America, or they just want to drive cross country, or hell, people here, I always want to go to Graceland, or I always want to go to Disneyland. Everybody has that adventure in them. They want to do X. And kind of like, again, I've been talking about the Rocky films a lot, but kind of like in the Rocky movies, it's more about just going out and doing it. And having this goal that you're striving for that maybe doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but to you, it's the culmination of a lifelong dream, and actually reaching for that dream and having a good time doing it and growing from the experience. It's very uplifting in that regard. The last thing I want to talk about before signing off on this one is, if you decide to watch this movie, which I think people should, I don't know if this is possible with streaming services. I don't know if they offer it. And if they do, then good. But if they don't, it's another example of why DVDs rule and streaming rules. There are 2 cuts of this movie. There's the theatrical version and the extended cut. I know that's not really anything shocking. A lot of movies do that when they release on DVD. But this is one of the rare instances where I feel like the differences in the 2 cuts is actually vast. In the theatrical cut, the film is narrated by Jack Black, by his character, kind of telling us what's going on and giving us the background and all of that, and it's okay. The extended edition is actually narrated by John Cleese. So that is the difference between a first-person perspective, somebody who is involved in the story telling you what's going on, and a third-person omniscient narrator who is giving us the insights to characters. When Jack Black does it, when he's giving the insight to, particularly the Owen Wilson character, who he's not a friend to, it's like, well, how do you know all this about this person? How are you getting this information? That's not the problem with the third-person omniscient narrator. But the other thing about the extended cut is that by having John Cleese do the narration, it completely changes up the point of view of the film and how the film is framed. Again, with the theatrical cut, it's coming from a first-person perspective now. But with the extended edition, especially with having someone like John Cleese do the voiceover, the whole thing takes on the feeling of a nature documentary. I mean, if you've ever seen any nature documentary, they're always narrated by British people. And so the little fellow went here, and the little fellow went there. And when John Cleese is talking about our three main characters, he doesn't call them by name. He calls them by profession. There's the programmer, the retired CEO, and the reigning champ or the reigning king. So he doesn't use their names. He's referring to them by profession that's easily identifiable. In other words, almost like you would if you were watching a nature documentary and they were saying the little seal or the little grouse or the little penguin. So now this presents the film more like we are watching the people watching. They are the unknowing subjects of a nature documentary. And I don't know, that just changes the entire feel of the movie to me. I like that feel a lot better. I like that concept a lot better than just, Jack Black theory. I don't know why they changed it. There are a few additional scenes in the extended cut, but mostly it's the John Cleese narration. I don't know why they cut that out and had Jack Black do it. I don't know if John Cleese wanted more money or something, but I think I really prefer the extended edition because I like the nature documentary feel that cut and those directorial choices make versus just kind of another first-person perspective. Let me narrate my life to you, kind of thing. Here it feels like the narration has purpose and meaning and works within the framework of the film. So if you have the choice, I would highly recommend the extended edition. Both are good, but the extended edition is better. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think we could use more films like this. I think we could use a little bit more reassurance that thing that we do, that little hobby that we do, be it bird watching, community theater, or doing reviews of movies that nobody watch, that only a few very dedicated people watch. Whatever you do, take joy in it and be the best at it. Be the best you can be. I think we could use that reassurance a little bit more in life. So go and enjoy and do something that you love and love doing it. All right, so that's all for me. We will see you back here next time. So as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.